Welcome to lecture 4. So, in the last class, we have studied what is directivity, what is effective aperture area. Effective aperture area will be smaller than the physical area of the horn antenna we have studied. So, in this class, we will study the remaining definitions of the antennas. If this is a dipole antenna, there are two poles. If the received signal is a pointing vector S measured in watts per meter square, then if this is a receiver with the load resistance RL, then the P load will be S into AE, because S is the received power, A is the effective aperture area in meter square. Then for this re-radiated power, P re-radiate is given by power radiated divided by 4 pi SR, which is equal to S into AR. AR is the receiver aperture area. This is only true for dipole antenna, not other antenna. Okay, for other antenna it will be different. We'll study it in the remaining models. Next, what is the effective height of an antenna? Okay, if this is a dipole along the z direction and the length of the dipole is lambda by 2, that is small l equal lambda by 2, and the E field is coming in this direction, then the power will be intercepted by this antenna. As a result, in voltage is induced, that is V, which is given by H into E. E is the electric field. So what is H? H is the effective area, effective length of the effective height of the antenna. Then H is given by V divided by the E. V is the voltage induced, and this is measured in terms of the meter. This is the length. If the current distribution, the current is when E voltage is induced, there will be a flow of current. If the current distribution is uniform, then its effective height will be equal to L only, that is lambda by 2. Then if the current distribution is nearly sinusoidal, the induced current is something like this, sinusoidal, then if this is a 1, this will be 0.64 will be your maximum value, that is nearly sinusoidal with an average value of 2 by pi, that is 0.64 maximum. Then effective height will be H equal to 0.64 L. This is for the sinusoidal distribution. Okay, so this is uniformly incident on the antenna. Okay, here L equal to lambda by 2 is taken. If I consider L equal to 0.1 lambda, so the 0.1 lambda means it's a longer wavelength. Longer wavelength means lesser frequency. If I consider this to be 0.1 lambda, then the current distribution is triangular. The current distribution is triangular. The average current is half the maximum, and the effective height will be H equal to 0.5 L. Okay, the same incident wave, depending on the length, it may be sinusoidally distributed, the current is sinusoidally distributed, or triangularly distributed for the different L. For this one, for L equal to 0.1 lambda, effective height of the antenna will be 0.5 L. Another way to find effective height, H is given by 1 divided by I naught 0 to HP, that is a physical height, I of z dz, which is also given as I average divided by I naught. This is going to give the I average value multiplied by the HP. HE is effective height, HP is the physical height, IAV is the average current. Then For an antenna of radiation resistance RR matched to its load, the power delivered to the load is equal to, directly we can write 1 divided by 4 V square by RR. Okay, power I square R or the V square divided by R. This is given by 1 by 4. So if I substitute for this V square, this will be H square E square by 4 into R. Okay. Next, a small assignment. Prove that the effective area square is given by He into Z naught divided by 4 pi RR. What is the Z naught? Z naught is the that 120 pi free space impedance. In the last class, I had a doubt, that is beam efficiency is given by omega m by omega A. Omega m is the main lobe area, omega A is the total beam area, which includes main lobe plus the side lobes. That is beam efficiency. Whereas small em, that is epsilon capital M, epsilon small m, is given by, is called as stray factor, which is given by omega small m divided by omega A. Omega small m is minor lobe area divided by the total beam area. So this is main lobe area plus the minor lobe area. And epsilon capital M plus epsilon small m is always equal to 1. Next, coming to the Frisch transmission formula. Let me consider the two antennas, transmitter and the receiver. And transmitter antenna is an isotropic antenna. Okay, I will assume. Then some of the parameters. AET is a transmitter effective aperture area. This area. PT is a power fed to the antenna. This is the power fed to the antenna. Then at a distance of R, the power is received. AER is the effective aperture area of the receiver, and this is the receiver. Assuming that the transmitting antenna is isotropic, the power per unit area at the receiver, since it is isotropic, so uniformly distributed in the sphere, then the received power or the Poynting vector power is given by Pt divided by 4 pi R square. If antenna has a gain Gt, if this has a Gt gain, then SR will be, this will be multiplied by the Gt. Pt Gt divided by 4 pi R square. I call it as a equation 2. Then the power collected by the lossless matched receiving antenna of effective area AER, because the whole power is not going to be collected by the antenna because of the effective area, then the PR will be SR multiplied by the AER. So this is multiplied by the AER. And gain of the transmitting antenna can be expressed as GT equal to 4 pi AET divided by lambda square. If I substitute 4 in this 3 in place of GT, we will get PR equal to PT into this 4 pi AET into AER divided by 4 pi R square lambda square. Then PR by PT is given by the AER into AET divided by R square lambda square. This is called as the Frisch transmission formula. Okay. Solve examples using this equation. So means they will be given the, you will be given the distance R, effective area and the lambda. You have to find what is the PR by PT ratio. If the PT is also given, you have to find the, what is the received power. Next comes the antenna field zones. If this is a dipole antenna, this is the feeder. I will draw a circle with this L as a diameter, and this is the length of the antenna. This is boundary sphere of the antenna region. Boundary sphere of the antenna region. This is antenna. I will define a term capital R. Capital R is given by 2 into L square, length of the antenna, divided by the frequency used, that is a lambda. The field which is above this area is called as the far field. When R is greater than 2 L square by lambda, that is called as a far field. Here the field pattern is different. Whereas if the R is less than 2 L square by lambda, this is called as a near field. Here the field pattern will be different. Near field is also called as a Fresnel zone, and far field is also called as a Fraunhofer zone. The difference between this near field and the far field is the power flow in the near field. The power flow is not entirely radial. This is not radial. Okay. It depends on the distance. The near field, the shape of the field pattern depends on the distance. Here the field pattern may be different. Here it may be different. Whereas in the case of far field, in this field region, the measurable field component are transverse to the radial direction. Transverse means there is no component of E or H. There is no component transverse to the radial direction. If this is a radial direction, this is called as a transverse direction from the antenna, and all power flow in the direction radially outward. Here it is radially outward. Power will be radially outward, whereas here it is not radially outward. It has some pattern, and that pattern also changes along the distance up to this point. After this point, it will be radial. Okay. So this is the end of the module 1. Solve examples from Cross and KD Prasad. And apart from this, if you have any other book also, to try to solve. Only in some of the books, the nomenclature will be different. Some books use, instead of capital L, they may use a small l. Instead of capital R, they may use a small r. So minor changes will be there, but ultimately the definitions are same. Thank you.